Talk Real Estate with Sharon McNamara, sponsored by Boston Connect Real Estate Services.
Hi, I'm your host, Sharon McNamara, and you are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. Let me share a little bit about my background before we get started. I am the broker-owner of Boston Connect Real Estate, a boutique firm that is home to over 30 real estate sales and marketing agents who service home buyers and home sellers throughout Boston, the South Shore, the South Coast, and Cape Cod. Our firm takes pride in assisting our clients in the next chapter of their lives by taking a holistic approach to their real estate endeavors. We believe that every move should be a moving experience. Every week, my co-host Melissa Wallace and I will provide you with my team's unique marketing approach to selling homes and share with you our expertise in navigating the home buying process. We value the experience of our agents at Boston Connect Real Estate so much that not only will you hear my perspective on real estate topics, occasionally you will hear the expert thoughts and opinions of our experienced agents at Boston Connect Real Estate. Be a part of our roundtable. If you have any questions during the show, please call 781-837-4900. We love to talk real estate. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and wherever you like to listen to podcasts at Talk Real Estate Roundtable. If you would like a one-on-one consultation with me and my team to discuss your real estate needs, you can connect with me at bostonconnect.com or 781-826-8000. Now, sit back, relax, take good notes, and let's talk real estate. And good morning to my South Shore neighbors. This is Sharon McNamara. You are, of course, listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. And you can tell it's summertime. I'm here sporadically at best. But hey, I'm here from, Labor Day to Memorial Day, generally every Saturday. So happy to be here. And I have the one and only Melissa Wallace, who holds down the fort for me here every week. She's the Director of Operations here at Boston Connect Real Estate. We're in our home studio here in Pembroke Center, right across the street from the Big Y and CVS and all those other great retail stores over there. We have Ace Hardware. We have the Packy, I don't know the name of it, Pembroke Liquors.
Pembroke Liquors.
Yeah, we have
the Candy Jar.
The Candy Jar, of course. They're the best. We have the nail salon, DeGala Nails.
Where we both go.
Yep, and the haircut place. Yeah, so we're right here, right across the street from all of them. So if you're in the neighborhood this morning, you want to see what our studio looks like, feel free. Just come in. Our front door is open. Walk up the stairs and wave and say hello.
Yeah.
And that's how you'll find us. And in studio today, I believe we have the one and only Tim McKinney. Good morning.
Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
And if, Sharon, if you could turn your mic up a little bit, we could hear you that much better.
All right, I will do that.
Or move closer, whatever you got to do. You're a little on the soft side.
Little on the soft side. I don't think anyone's ever said that about Sharon.
I know, right? I know. The Dorchester girl soft? Never. No.
Oh, we kid.
One thing I have not been called is soft. Yeah. I've been called the nicest pit bull I've ever come across, though.
Well, there you go.
That.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. That's a good one.
Yeah, Sharon, you're the nicest pit bull I've ever met. Thank you. Negotiations went well for you.
Yeah.
So, and I think, Tim, you had a day off last week, so hopefully you were doing something good.
Yeah, I had a blast. It was one of my cousin's 50th birthdays, so I was up in Stark, New Hampshire.
Stark, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
I've even heard of it.
I hadn't either until my family started building on some property up there. Gorgeous house, gorgeous land. It's remote. You're surrounded by greenery. You can see the mountains. We had some fireworks. It was great.
Oh,
great time.
Nice. Awesome. Good. I'm glad getting him out there. He's been, for a long time, I don't remember him ever taking a day off, and then he went to it. Like you have having a lot of family type things, right? Remember you had the wedding somewhere that was abroad, and
yes,
so that's good that you guys have really connected with your family. I think that's really important. I love seeing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, more like reconnect. I mean, God, some of my family that was there, I haven't seen them in at least 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, look how important that is, isn't it?
Yeah.
That actually gives me goosebumps. I read a book while I was on vacation. I'm always on vacation for 4th of July, as probably everybody knows. And I was just reading a book. It's called Up Island. It's just, it's just sort of like a beach read. And it was about Martha's Vineyard. I love reading about books like from Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket and stuff. And it was about this woman who came back and reconnected with her grandmother and found out that she was part of the Wampanoag tribe and things like, and it was just, it really gave me the feel goods, like it is talking to Tim right now, like just reconnecting with family and the importance of that. And I understand that even more now, like with my dad being gone, and we recently, you know, buried his cremains, and he's buried in Mattapan with the rest of his family. And there were people on the tombstone. There's like a plot of 8 there, and I didn't know who they were. You know what I mean? So I wish that I had taken that time to reconnect with my dad, and maybe I should have gone there with him when he was alive and said, all right, so who's this person?
Yeah.
Who are you going to be buried with, Dad? Yeah, so, no, that's great. I'm glad. Happy for you.
Thank you.
And your family. That's great. What about you? Anything good going on? Look at me. I'm just catching up with everything. Never mind the radio show today. What's going on with you?
I'm going to see the Odyssey tomorrow. I'm excited to
That
see
looks great.
I know. Yeah. We typically go on Tuesday nights in Hanover because we're members, so it's $5 on Tuesday. But it's a 3-hour-long movie, and on Tuesday it starts at 8 o'clock, and that's just too late for me. I want to be home by 8
You can leave early on Tuesday if you
No,
want.
so we're going tomorrow.
Just turn on the DVR.
Yeah. We're going tomorrow, but I'm excited. It's gotten a lot of great reviews, so I know it's very highly anticipated, but I think it just came out this past week, so we're like, let's go to the movies.
I think it just came out yesterday.
Yeah. So
I know nothing about it.
Yeah.
I'm just not that person.
Yeah, I'm sure you know the story, though. Homer's the Odyssey. Okay, well, she shook her head no, so
Maybe
I'll give you the 3-hour recap on Monday.
Maybe I just go and see it and call it a day. Yeah. So.
It'll be the Wallace, Siskel, and Ebert review.
Yes.
Well, I heard that who the Ben Affleck and I want to say Johnny Damon, but I'm pretty sure he was
Matt Damon is in it.
Oh, Matt Damon's in it? Isn't that weird? I did not know that.
Matt Damon, Anne Hathaway, and it's a really good cast.
So many people.
Cast,
John
right?
Bernthal. Yeah. A lot of people. Charlize Theron. Every famous person. I said that to somebody recently. I said, oh, we're going to see the Odyssey. Every famous person is in the movie. And oh my gosh, and now I forgot who he said, but I was like, oh no, not that person.
Elvis Presley is not in the house.
No, not that.
No.
Who's the Indiana Jones guy? What's his name?
Harrison Ford?
Yeah, he goes, Harrison Ford? I go, no, not Harrison Ford. He goes, then not every famous person is in that movie. And I'm like, okay, touche, you got me.
Yeah. But Matt Damon, is it Matt Damon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And who's the other one? Ben Affleck. That they're already starting on the Karen Reed movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that didn't take long. I didn't expect it to. So anyways, so that's my little catch-up, people, WATD listeners who have all maybe tuned off. But don't. I'm just getting you caught up.
Come back.
I'm sorry. Just come back to me. I promise we're going to talk about real estate. Today's a great show. It's easements, encroachments, and property lines. What makes me nervous about the title of this show is that Melissa came up with it on her own. Not that I'm worried about that, but what I'm worried about is usually our shows are based on something that happened in the office this week. So, did anything happen that I should be made aware of?
No, not
You're going to do it live right here. It's almost like first heard on WATD.
I know. Yeah, no, I think I've caught you up to speed for the things that, happened while you were gone, which all good things, good things going on here. But I know of a situation that you have had recently as a buyer's agent when it comes to, whether it's an easement, an encroachment, or even knowing where your property lines are. This is actually a conversation that I've had in my personal life about the property lines of my own property and not really knowing where they are. And I think that that's a pretty common thing where you might think that you know where the property lines are, but you might be wrong. And then also with easements, I know that you recently had a listing that had an easement on it. And sometimes it's a surprise that you have an easement, and sometimes you know about it. And we're going to talk about when you should disclose that easement, how you should disclose that easement. Can they be discharged? Things like this. So.
And the importance of title insurance, which we, I'm sure, is probably in here somewhere, and we can sort of hit upon that a little bit. But that, this topic is really good, and one of the things I love on my agenda is that there is a disclaimer that this episode is for educational purposes only, and it is not legal advice. Laws and disclosure requirements vary state by state. For the most part, we have all Massachusetts listeners here, but if you are listening to my podcast, please keep in mind that this is based on Massachusetts law that we're going to be talking about. about. And buyers and sellers should always consult with your Massachusetts real estate attorneys, a surveyor, and a title professional for advice on your specific situation. So we're going to be just talking in broad terms
General,
today,
yeah,
right?
general what these mean.
Yeah.
Give examples from our own personal business.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So disclaimer, done.
Disclaimer, done. I wanted to talk about it because I feel like a lot of buyers, they could assume that when they're purchasing a property that everything inside their lot lines belong to them. And then they can use it however they like. But, sometimes that's not always the case. There are things called easements. And we'll go talk about what an encroachment is as well. And then, of course, I said it's really important to know where your property lines are.
And a lot of times when we're out showing houses, so when you're talking about the legal aspects, I'll talk about the things that I see when I'm in the field with people, because maybe many people don't know on WATD I am a full-time real estate agent as well. So a lot of times I bump into people and they're like, "Oh, I listen to your show every weekend and I hired somebody else." You can hire us. We're here. We're available. Me, myself, and all of our agents here. But a lot of times when I'm out showing people property, a lot of times, like, maybe a question might come up, like, "Oh, where are the property lines?" If I'm the listing agent, I hear it all the time, like, how far back? Yeah, how far back does the land go? Does it go beyond the pool? Is it, where is it on the front yard? Where is it on the sidelines and stuff like that? And for the most part, I can give general. But I think when I'm a buyer's agent and I'm going into somebody's home, it's really easy to sort of get sidetracked or not pay attention. And you're looking at the mow lines. That's what I'm calling it, the mow line. So it's like, oh, you can clearly see where this person mows their lawn. You just assume that is the lot line. Yeah. Well, you know what they say about assume.
I could say it.
I don't think you can on
donkey.
The show.
You make a donkey out of you and me.
You make a donkey out of you and me. I like that. That's what we should trademark that. To make a donkey out of you and me. So don't necessarily always go by the mow lines. I mean, those are probably really good indicators of where it is approximately, but not necessarily definitely.
I think it's also important to say that there are, some features of a home or property that sellers become very familiar with and just don't really think about these features, like a shared driveway. When they go to sell their house. So they have to think about the shared driveway, utility poles, fences, where they put the fences up.
Fences is really important. Do you want me to stop you on each one as I come up with something?
You can do whatever you want.
Oh, okay, I can. Thanks. You heard it here. Listen.
I told her, everybody, she could do whatever she wants.
I expect that you will be cutting that and pasting it so that I can have it somewhere that I can just push a button and says, you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. So with the fences, this is another really important thing. If you are a buyer, or if you're going to be selling your house, let the person know. But like sometimes people buy houses and the fence is already up, right? So like you assume one thing, and generally you'll find out soon thereafter when you moved in, your neighbor will certainly let you know where he thinks the lot lines are. But with fences, I just had the situation. So it's the same client that we're talking about that had an easement that went in the front yard that was for a driveway, and we'll get into that. But it's the same client, and they wanted to have the land surveyed just before they moved in, because they planned on putting up a shed. And when they put up when the surveyor went there, they did the stakes, and this fence of the neighbor is on the property of the property that she was purchasing. So it's interesting because a lot of times when we're getting into the final phases of this, of the sale of a property, the bank will generally send out someone. It's not like a full-blown survey or assessment. It's really just like they're pinning the corners, right? Just for like a basic type plot plan that goes along with the mortgage and everything. And the reason I don't think it came up and I'm telling you, it comes up like, hey, there's an encroachment. That's what this would be. Yeah. This, the neighbor's fence is on your land. It would come up naturally as an encroachment. I don't think that the person who came out to pin this one for the mortgage realized that the next door neighbor, not the current next door neighbor, but previous
neighbor.
It's gone through, different hands. When he put up the fence, it was actually a grudge fence.
Oh.
The two neighbors that lived there, like when the house were first built, had a grudge, and they put up a grudge fence. Well, what the one neighbor did that put up the fence is they put the ugly side on, because the ugly side is usually on your side.
Yeah.
So
faces in, right?
Yeah, faces in,
Yeah.
right? So like when you're in your yard, you're looking at the ugly side. Well, the neighbor was like, "Oh, I'll show you," and put the ugly side on their side so they could look at the nicer side.
Yeah.
Right? So I think when the surveyor went there, again, not a full-blown survey, but they had to have seen, because it's on the land by 5 feet.
So what, they think that it was their fence
Yes.
and not the neighbors?
Yes.
Yeah, because it was reversed.
Because it was reversed. That's why it didn't come up. Yeah, but see, now you got a little tidbit, things to look at when you're out there looking at houses.
Yeah, when you're looking at a fence, are you looking at the ugly side?
Yeah.
Well, because that comes up a lot, and I've done a lot of open houses over the years. But even when I'm visiting people at their open houses, I pretty much always hear something about the property line.
Mm-hmm.
But also when it comes to fences, the question is, does that fence belong to this house, or is that a neighbor's fence?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you can tell that, fences have been replaced over the years. So if you're looking at a house and all 3 sides of the backyard are fenced in, but they're all different fences, probably not yours.
Yeah, exactly. We had that in West Bridgewater recently too, right?
Yeah.
So, and I had to be very specific with people as they came into the open house or they had showings, because it very much looked like this yard was fenced in. And it ended up being fenced in, but it isn't your fence. So a neighbor can take that down anytime.
That's a really great point, because I had not thought of that. So I just have a light bulb. So if you see me on Facebook or YouTube right now, we are live. Hello, we're waving.
Yeah, and you can see like a little ding.
You saw my eyes go, oh my gosh, I hadn't even thought about that. You can't really say that the backyard is fenced in if you don't own the fence.
Exactly. We should put that as something that we talk about in our office meetings.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Because, I have gotten that question before when I've done open houses. I've heard other people ask that when I'm visiting open houses of, does that fence belong to this house? Maybe one part of the fence does, but you can't say that it's a fenced-in backyard, even if it walks and talks like one, but you don't own it.
You don't own it, yeah. It's fenced in right now.
It's surrounded by fencing.
Well, yeah, you could say that, surrounded by fencing. But that it really is true, because even like, the two-family, Mark and I own an investment property, and the neighbor, like we have one row up, and we should probably replace that fence, to be quite honest. But, we have a fence, I believe it's ours, and it's on our side, but the neighbor like went up to it.
Oh,
you know what I mean? So like they enclosed their yard with fence using part of ours, which I think is fine, because we've also seen situations, and I think there is a house that where we have under agreement right now. Mark would remember, because Mark brought it up. He's like, he goes, all right, so who mows like in between? There's
in between the two.
And so like both neighbors put up fences and they both have the same side. I think that's silly. Like, I don't think that that's necessary.
Yeah.
And because then all I can imagine is weeds are going to be growing. Oh, you know what? It's actually, I think, is Karen listening right now? Karen Monroe. One of my best friends she listens, and I think it's at her house. It is at her house, because we were at a graduation party for her son recently, and Mark noticed that there's 2 fences, and he's like, well, how do you get in between them?
Yeah.
So when all those trees are going to, weeds or whatever, grow up in between.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had not thought about that. But if you don't own the fence, can you really say you have a fenced-in backyard?
I don't think you can, actually. I don't think, well, you can, but I don't think that you should.
Yeah, I don't think you
Let's put
should.
it that way, yeah. To all our WATD listeners, you are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. I am Sharon McNamara, broker owner of Boston Connect Real Estate, and Boston Connect is happy to be the proud sponsor of our radio show here, Talk Real Estate Roundtable. Of course, I'm with Melissa Wallace. We have Tim in studio. We haven't heard from some listeners in a long time. We know you're listening because we get messages afterwards, or different. We see people. Melissa sees
Feedback.
everybody at Christina's. give us a call. We'd love to hear from you, whether it's about this topic or any other real estate topic. Feel free to give us a call, 781-837-4900, 781-837-4900. And if you had a situation with maybe a property that you were selling or purchasing and anything came up with easements, encroachments, or property lines or anything like that, give us a buzz. We'd love to hear from you and love to hear your story.
Yeah.
Must be sick of hearing my stories.
I want to get into why boundaries matter more than we would think. So, a lot of buyers focus on the square footage of a home, kitchen, bedrooms, if a school district matters to you, obviously the price. But I think one of the most overlooked parts of purchasing real estate is understanding exactly what you're buying. You get a lot of that knowledge from a home inspection. But when it comes to the land, I think that could be questioned.
Yeah. And that is the thing. Like, where does it begin? Where does it end? And, here's the thing. I now have currently, in the past month, 2 situations with land and, the meets and bounds.
Yeah.
Remember
so
that?
I got the idea from for this show from you.
Oh, okay. I
Not
guess
from anything else that happened.
Nothing happened while I was gone. It's just that
we also I don't think we've ever done a show like this either.
So one of the things with again, assuming that the boundary lines are where they are, it's just sort of circumstantial, I guess, that it's my client in Marshfield with the one that I just gave that, description of what happened with that fence over there and why I feel as if those lot lines weren't picked up accurately. But, she just happened to have a survey. She paid for it. She wanted to put the stakes in and everything. You know what I mean? So they could clearly see. The next door neighbor, I think, sort of lost his breath because, again, he moved into this house after the fact. So he just assumed this is the lot line. This is my fence. This is what I was told, But then when he sees that his fence is now 5 feet on the neighbor's yard and, literally the driveway is
So how did that happen? How were they able to put up a fence on land that they don't own? I'm just curious how that works.
Apparently it wasn't surveyed and they went by the mow lines. I have no idea.
So, yeah, I guess I wish I could ask somebody who owns a fencing company of what's your process? Do you have to have that survey done beforehand so you know that you're putting up a fence on a property that you're being paid to put on, or is it a neighbor's property?
I would guess that you have to, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, we know someone who owns a fence company. It's too bad we can't get him on the phone. Maybe Kristen is Kristen listening? Maybe Kristen can listen. If Kristen was listening, we could have her text George for us right now.
Yeah, that
is a really good question. But I don't know how it happens, but it happens all the time. And that's why a lot of times people, they're like, do I really need title insurance? I mean, this has been here forever and the fence is there and blah, 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 blah. I say, get the title insurance.
Get the title insurance. You have the security for the ownership of the property.
And, here's how I feel. Even if I didn't think you needed it, you're never going to hear from me that you shouldn't get it.
Yeah.
Just so you know, you can ask me that question all day, every way. And I'm going to say, do I think you're going to need it? Probably not. But if you do, I don't want to be the one that made that decision for you. So
I still kept my renter's insurance when I lived with Mary. So it wasn't my house, but, I got a discount on my car insurance. So I said, keep it.
The $50, right?
Yeah, the $50. So I'm like, sure, why not? So, it's always the safest bet to be
100%.
The most secure that you can. I mean, this is the biggest investment of your life. So why not?
And I don't know the answer to this question, but I think the answer is no. If you currently own a home and you didn't purchase title insurance when you purchased the house, I don't think you can get it after the fact.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
We'd have to ask.
Yeah. You know what? If you bring up a topic, I'm going to text one of our attorneys and ask that question.
Some other questions, for this particular segment is, can somebody else legally use part of my property? We'll get into that a little bit later, too. So does my fence sit on my property? We've talked about that this morning. Who owns the shared driveway? Can I build where I want, and why are utility companies allowed on my land? Some of these issues can affect your property value, financing, future renovations, neighbor relationships. We've talked about that. Closing timelines, title insurance, and resale value. Next segment I have is understanding property lines. So what are property lines? They are the legal boundaries that define where one parcel ends and another begins. This is very important if you're going to be putting up a fence. We've talked about this over and over so far this morning. But these boundaries are established through recorded deeds, recorded subdivision plans. I know you're very familiar with new construction and subdivision plans. That's when I was doing open houses for your team a few years ago. You know, it was new construction, and that was one of the biggest questions, about knowing exactly where those property lines are.
Well, it came up, with new construction. It also comes up, and I hear that a lot of times too. Like, do I really need title insurance right now if this is a new development and everything was, went through the process? Hey, listen, I don't know. I mean, anybody can come back at any time, but I do know in West Bridgewater a few years ago, we had a situation where people they're allowed to put up their own fence, and one of the residents there claims that he asked Mary where the property line was. Now, we don't know. We can show you a piece of paper that shows where the property lines are, but if it's not staked out there, we really don't know.
Yeah.
So we always tell people that they have to get a survey and get that exactly mapped out so they know exactly where they are. Well, one of them put it really close into maybe the buffer zone. And then it ended up being a situation, but then they came back and said, well, Mary had told me that this is where the lot lines were. And under no circumstances did she do that.
Yeah.
But people just, that's the other thing. People, just because you want to hear what you want to hear doesn't mean that makes the answer to your question what you want to hear.
Yeah.
Right? So you just have to be really careful with that.
Yeah. Getting back to, so property lines are legal. They're not just visual. Common misconceptions when it comes to property lines. We talked about fence equals property line. No. Tree line equals property line. Misconception. No. Stone walls, property line. No, it's not necessarily true. And many it says here many fences are installed years ago without a survey. So that answers my question. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
There's my next question.
Yeah, I know. It's too bad ChatGPT just doesn't listen to us while we're on the show.
Yeah.
The answers for us.
Some of the reasons why surveys matter, property corners, you just said that, lot dimensions, existing improvements, encroachments, and easements.
And it's really important to know what your property line's for other things. And I don't know if it's in this agenda or not, but, the reason why you want to definitely know where your easements are, where your property lines are, all of those things matter for many things that you're going to do in your home. So if you're thinking about putting a well in, well, you certainly need to know where your property lines are, right? So you have to be so many feet from a sideline. And again, every town is different. So I suggest that you check with your town to see what those rules are. But if somebody's putting in a well, I'm sure they know what those rules are. But your well has to be so many feet from a sideline, front line, I'm sure, and a rear. I would also think that when you're putting in your septic system, like if you're building a house, the septic system, where that goes, that has rules of where that can go. Property lines matter there. So it really does matter for a lot of things that you're going to be putting in. A shed, if you're going to be putting a shed up. I've seen that many times. One of the apps I use that I love, it was actually one of the police officers that I was working with, or something came up and I was talking to him. He suggested is called Land Glide.
We have a phone call.
Yes, you have a phone call, and it's all about fences. We have Susan in Wareham.
Hello, Susan in Wareham. I'm so happy that you can answer this question for us. Can you tell us about who you are, and are you directly related to Fence Company, or you just happen to know?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I wasn't listening to the radio at all.
Okay, that's fine. What is your question?
But I knew when I put my fence up on the right-hand side, the fence company asked me, he said it was my legal responsibility to know where the fence was, not his.
Ah, see.
And then they put it up exactly where the old fence was, but he said it was totally my responsibility, not them.
So that's really interesting. So when you purchased your house, did you put up the original fence that came down and then just got it looks like a remove and replace?
There was 3 fences. The left and the right and the back was fenced in. What I replaced was the right side because it was all rotted, and then I put gates on the left and the right to fence in my dog.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the right side where it was the borderline between me and my next door neighbor, Yeah,
and so that fence was already there. So you basically, and this is interesting. This is why we're talking about this, because it's funny because the fence company said it's, up to you to decide where this line is. So you're like, yeah, that's, the fence is there. We just want to remove and replace it. But if that fence was there before, and you know what I mean, and no one surveyed it, potentially it could have been encroaching on your neighbor's lawn. I'm not saying that it is, but I'm just saying it's sort of weird, the process that, because I could just
seems like the responsibility is on the owner and not the fence company.
Yeah, and probably the next door neighbor too, right? Mm-hmm. Like, hey, no, you can't put your fence there. That's my land.
Well, the neighbor next door did not put up the original fence. And my understanding from talking to a neighbor who'd been across the street for 40 years, everybody was friends. So they didn't really get anything surveyed.
Yeah.
It was just an understanding.
Yeah, and that's, that's when people were neighborly.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, let's be honest. Like, I have a situation in my own neighborhood right now that makes it's cringy. It's literally cringy. It makes it's so upsetting. And it's one of those things where, hey, these were neighbors. These were old cranberry houses for years and years and years. And, I'll get into that a little later. I don't want to overshadow what we're talking about here. So that, it could be wrong.
Yeah.
But everybody is neighborly enough to just say, well, that's what it is and it's what it will always be, until they get the person who says, you know what, I want this surveyed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for calling in.
Much for
I have a question.
Okay. Okay. Let's hear it.
Okay. Neighbor on the left, he has 2 fences. He has there's a fence in the back, which is about 6 feet high, and then he has a split rail wire fence in front of that, about halfway, to the street. And there's 1.5 feet difference between those 2 fences.
Uh-huh.
And when I asked him which one is correct, he said, the one that's to his advantage. So I never really questioned it. But then I came home one day, and his driveway is right next to my side, and he was putting in a new gate, and he took down some of my split rail railing. He said, oh, it's rotted, so you don't need it anymore. That's another story.
Oh, my gosh.
That's the more interesting part of the story, by the way, but all right, keep going.
But then to support his very sturdy, huge gate that he put up, he put a huge metal, I'm not sure what it's called. It's probably about 3 or 4 feet tall, that went in from the right side of his fence, and then he sunk the other part. It's a big rod, actually, into a piece of cement, which I think is on my property.
Okay.
And is there a way that I can go to the town hall or something and find out where the border line is without having a survey come?
The town really isn't going to give you the most accurate survey, especially if you're saying sounds like one of those older communities where people have been there for years and years, and it's just assumed like where my property lines are, right? The best way for you to find out is to have your land surveyed, and they'd stake it out. And honestly, I would recommend that. I mean, if you're not going to be there forever, because it's only going to become a problem when you go to sell. Yeah. Right? So, and it will come up. It generally comes up. The only reason why it didn't come up with my client is because the next door neighbor put the fence on backwards. So, like, that's where that came in. That's why the encroachment didn't come up. Now, that one post being an encroachment, I think, is it really that big of a deal? Is your next, if you go to sell, is it really going to matter to anybody? If it matters to you and you don't want it there because like you just don't want it to be a problem down the line, my suggestion would be to definitely get it surveyed and just have it staked. There are different levels of survey that you can do as well. So you can just have it staked where you visually can see it. Then there's another layer that costs more where they would actually put it on paper. But I think just for what you need, the visual aspect of it, and it's probably going to be a couple $1,000s to do it, but I do think well worth it. Because one of the things that we have in our agenda too that we'll talk about is that with that being there and him continuously using it, and I have this as an example. So the person I was just talking about, the fence is actually 5 feet on my client's yard. The neighbor had no idea, but hey, it was done years ago. We had the attorneys write a letter after they passed papers, because it just happened. They just passed papers a few weeks ago. But we had a letter drafted from the attorney, because we also want to be really careful that we want to be neighborly, especially when you're moving in. You don't want to say, hey, just want to send you a little note or knock on your door and say, just want to let you know that I recognize that your fence is on my property. That's called an encroachment of your property and someone else's property on your land. However, the reason why you want a letter and you want that sort of known is because of adverse possession. So if you use land continuously open and in front where you know what I mean, like it's visual that you can, and you don't complain about it, or you don't recognize it, or you don't send a note that this is my property, I see it, I'm allowing you to do it, but I am not giving you ownership of this land. You cannot take my land by adverse possession. So that's what the, yeah.
So you need the lawyer and the letter to prove that,
I don't think you'd need the lawyer, to be quite honest.
Not in this situation.
And not in your situation. We did it in this, we're going to do it in another situation I close on next week as well. And I'm going to talk about that situation too, and how that one, the survey was completely different from the mow lines, completely different. So I don't think you would need the attorney aspect of it, but I think having a survey, it's healthy to do. You know where your property lines are now. It's clear, it's visible, take pictures of it so you always have it.
Would I have the right to tell him that he has to move his fence 1.5 feet inward and remove that cement if I had it surveyed? Or do I need to go through a lawyer at that point?
No, you could.
I think it would depend on his reaction.
Yeah, it depends on your relationship.
Yeah, it would depend on his understanding of that not being his land. But yeah, I mean, you can certainly tell somebody that they can't use your land.
Yeah.
It's your land.
Well, and then there's the big black oak tree, which is mostly on my property too, and I don't want that to be a problem for him.
Okay.
So because when I have that, it shades his house, and I keep telling him that he has less electricity usage because his house is shaded by my tree, in the summertime. And then, but when I have the professional people come, they use his driveway, which is very kind of him. So we are on friendly relationships.
Yeah.
And I don't want to really rush.
Yeah, and if you don't want to ruffle the feathers, but if you truly don't want it there because it's it's adversely taking from your quality of your life and how you want to use your land, then certainly you can ask him to move it. If it's something that isn't really bothering you, and after you have it surveyed, I would just make it very clear to him, and maybe it's just like a handwritten letter to him. Again, I am not giving legal advice. All the attorneys out there are cringing at me right now. But they're all mad at me right now, but that's okay.
I get it.
Yeah. But I would suggest that minimally, once you have the survey, once you can prove that that is actually on your land, if it isn't bothering you and you're okay with it for now, that's okay. But I would have a conversation with him and just say, hey, I love being your neighbor. This is a neighborly conversation. I did have my land surveyed. I was listening to a radio show, and I just thought that this would be a good idea for me to do, for long term. And I want you to know that I recognize that the part of your fence in this post is on my land, but I'm allowing you to use it while I'm here, but I'm not saying that you'll have ownership of that forever. Mm-hmm. Or you could say, I'd prefer that it's moved, and I hope that isn't a hassle.
All right. Another comment. A friend of mine in Somerset had a house recently sold by your firm,
Yes.
and she was very worried that it was going to take a while. The open house was Friday. She had multiple bids by Monday at 5:00, and you guys did an awesome job.
Oh, thank you so much. That's
Oh.
actually Team Flynn.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I'm so glad to hear that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
they.
right, because it was a difficult sell for her emotionally for personal reasons, and you just helped her out immensely. So thank you.
Well, that gave me goosebumps. Thank you for sharing that story with me. And that's one of the things. It's, we come on here and it's, I think like our motto, if we had one, it would be humble and kind, right? Because I really am fortunate as the broker owner of Boston Connect Real Estate to have a group of agents. We're a small and mighty boutique, right? Like my agents are very smart. They're very compassionate too. So that's one thing that I'm really happy about, that we go beyond just the selling of the house. It's more about all the other things that matter, in that process. So thank you for sharing that story with me.
Thank you so much for sharing.
We'll make sure that Team Flynn gets a gold star this week.
Yeah, because I didn't know about you when I had got my house, and I was going through multiple realtors, and I ended up having different realtors look at a house, and one said, "Oh yeah, this is a great house," and then because there was a window in the front room that was slightly crooked, and she goes, "Oh, you just have to get it fixed. Some kid broke it or something." And then another realtor came by and looked, and she actually put a pencil through the rotten wood, and she goes, she wouldn't sell this house because the whole front of the house is rotted with termites.
Yeah.
So
that happens.
that was mine.
Well, it's probably going to be an upcoming show because, like I said, we talk about the things that are happening in our life right now. And I've seen a switch. I've been doing this for 25 years now, and I've seen a switch in, and I feel bad for some of the newer agents coming in right now because we have a lot of virtual type real estate offices now, right? Just because of where we are in the world.
Yep.
And I'm not exactly sure you're not getting the same hands-on training, and the conversations that we have in this office, some are hilarious, some will make you cry, and others will 100% shock you. Like, when an agent actually Team Flynn walked in the room a few weeks ago, white as a ghost, and everybody's like, "What is going on?" And then she's like, "I just showed a house and you wouldn't believe it," So you learn from those experiences. But we'll do a show on that too. So hopefully everything worked out with you. What town are you in, Sue? It's Sue, right? Yeah.
Oh, Wareham.
Wareham. I love Wareham. Did you know that we keep our boat at Zucco's? Do you know?
No.
Do you know where that is? Down by Toby Hospital.
I drive by Toby Hospital twice a day, but I didn't know about that. Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. So next time you're down there, I don't know which way you're coming from. If you're coming from the onset area, you're going to take a left in front of Toby Hospital. Just follow it all the way down to the end, and then you'll fall into the ocean. And that's where we are.
That's where they are.
Yep. It's
well,
beautiful.
if I ever sell my house, I'll definitely you guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much,
right.
and have a wonderful day. And listen to us every weekend, and I'll let you know when I'm down there. You can come say hello.
All right.
Come
take
by
care.
for a cup
Bye-bye.
of coffee.
Come by for a cup of tea or coffee.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right,
Thank
bye.
you.
Thank you. So again, this was such a really good example of fence lines, right? So,
Yeah.
it's been here for 40 years, and all the neighbors 40 years, and that's how things sort of get misconstrued. One of the questions that we had is, can you get title insurance after the fact? And I did reach out to Amy Mesfer. She's one of the real estate attorneys that I use and refer often, and she's from Mahoney Law Group. And I said, I'm on the radio show right now talking about easements and encroachments. Can a homeowner buy title insurance after owning their property for years if they didn't get it at the time of sale? And she said, you can, yes, as long as you're the owner. So my assumption is it's just more expensive.
Yeah, my guess would be that it would be more expensive after the fact, because then they have to sort of cover, or does it cover, the years that you didn't have the title insurance, but
Yeah.
you owned the property.
Yeah, I'm
Like
guessing.
going
I just
back.
asked her
Yeah.
that question. I'm assuming that it's more expensive, but here's the good news. Maybe you were in a situation when you did purchase your home, and maybe the attorney that you used didn't fully go into the importance of having title insurance. And if you decide and you didn't get it, you decided you wanted to get it now, you still have that opportunity to get it. Who you would get it from, no idea, but we can find that out. If you need to find out, if you need to ask us, you can always send me a text. 781-294-4848 is my cell phone.
Yeah. When it comes to surveys, I mean, I think, I would like to do a survey on my property. I mean, I have 2.7 acres. A lot of it is the woods, but the way that my property is, it's almost like an L, so it goes behind my neighbor's yard, and a lot of it is all trees, and eventually one day we would put up a fence. I would like to put up a fence, at least on the side of my house, because one day we would like to have a low rider running around, and that's a dog, because we want a basset hound, but. So I would need to know where I can put that, fence and clear, because for the most part, my backyard is a little bit sloped. But I have a side yard that is pretty flat. So I would probably fence in a little
And
area
you
over
potentially
there.
could put like a garage and everything back there.
Yeah.
Right?
But I know that at one point, the neighbor had approached the woman who was selling my house and wanted to buy the land behind his, and she said no. So I would be curious to know where,
Where those
lines are.
Yeah. And maybe you sell it.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, the only one it's going to have some value to is him. I mean, if you're never going to use the land behind there, maybe you sell it. But weirdly, I have land behind my neighbor's house as well.
Yeah.
And that came up, and I had to use title insurance. We were both paying taxes on that same piece of property. So where my house is, it was cranberry bogs. It was all the cranberry bogs, and it's like little parcels to make up our one. We have 1.36 acres, I believe. And one of those little parcels falls behind our neighbor's house. And she was paying taxes on it. We were paying taxes on it. And then we had to get that all straightened out. And we were ultimately able to, and were able to show that it is actually our land. But, it's bringing me into understanding, how are these lots created in the beginning? And like mine is a very good example. It's probably 4 or 5 little parcels brought into one to make a buildable lot.
Yeah. I do want to leave a couple minutes for the end. Some of the feedback that we received is that people wanted to know more about our open houses.
Okay, perfect.
But, I know that we have a lot more to talk about. But, maybe a couple more minutes on maybe what an easement is. Can you give me some examples of some easements on a property?
Yeah. So, I mean, I know my own property. It's interesting because when we bought and had like the first plot plan, I think it was, that came with the house, didn't show that there was a utility easement that went through it. So we actually built our pool according to that plot plan. But then at some point, something else came up, and then another plot plan showed that there is an easement, which goes through my pool at this point. So.
And I'd like to say that a utility easement gives the legal right to a utility company access to a part of your land in order to do some repairs underground. And sometimes it's above, because I can remember you had a listing in Duxbury.
Yeah.
That had an easement, which came up a lot with a lot of the buyers because it concerned that easement had concerned them.
Yeah, because people think, oh, are people just going to be showing up and like walking through my land all the time? Generally speaking, no. I mean, but a lot of times in new subdivisions, you also there might be a portion that's an easement to get to the the detention and retention basins and ponds and stuff. They need access to get in there. You have to leave access for the towns and the municipalities to be able to get into the land, and in case there is a repair needed. So that's what a lot of times those are. You'll see the electrical, water, sewer. Actually, Matt Mahoney, one of our agents here at Boston Connect Real Estate, he was thinking about putting up a garage and something, and he did his due diligence as a homeowner because he knew that there were some an easement. There was a utility easement close to the side of his, but he found out that he was fine and there was no worry about it.
Yeah.
But you'll see drainage easements and things like that all the time.
And you have a client who recently purchased in the Pine Hills who has a sewer easement because the community can go and make sure that the sewer system is in running order, and any repairs that need to be done.
Yeah, and it isn't just necessarily like, to utility companies and that. It could be an easement to a neighbor or an abutter.
Yeah.
So this came up with one of the situations in my listing that I had this year, and it probably goes back to when the development was being created and they had the preliminary plot plans and what they were going to do. And this didn't even come up. I was actually the agent when they purchased the property. It didn't come up then. It came up after they sold and bought. And I don't know how that all happened and how that transpired that it didn't come up, but it didn't. But we were aware of it when we went to sell it, and we made all the attorneys aware of it as well. But there showed like a plot plan that had an easement that went right. So this house was up on a hill, and there was an easement that went right through the front driveway over to the abutting neighbor. And it said driveway easement. So it was definitely something that we were like, and it got all looked into, and it was like abandoned. So it was abandoned easement because it was probably part of the original design when they were going through planning and zoning and everything, that this was their thought that the next door neighbor was actually driveway was actually going to go in front of the house. Well, that is not the case. The septic system is there now.
Yeah.
Right? So the septic system, so the easement isn't there, and it got abandoned, but you can have easements for other things. Here's another good example too is, we're condominiumized, but in a front building in Pembroke Center, there's a building behind us. If we were two separate lots, I could grant her an easement to go through my property for the driveway so she could enter and exit.
Yeah. But here we are. I want to talk about where you're going to be today.
Yeah, so today I am going to be over at Cochise Estates in West Bridgewater. So that's our new construction development over there. As you know, we did finish up the Cushing Trails in Hanson. Mark and I actually took a ride by there last night. And it looks really, really nice in there. Everything's all done. But we have, I think, probably just about 20 units left over at Cochise Estates in West Bridgewater. It's off of Scotland Street. You can look up Metacomet, 38 Metacomet Road in West Bridgewater. I'll be there from 10 to 1 today.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then
who will be there tomorrow?
Sue will be there tomorrow from 10 to 1 as well.
Yeah.
Quite a few open houses this weekend. Evis Mason has a brand new listing at 15 Crestwood Drive in Framingham. She's going to be there today from 10 to 12. That is on the market for $789. Sam Horton will be at 96 Old Colony Ave, Unit 304 in Taunton today from 11 to 12:30. That is a condo on the market for $325. Tomorrow, big day for everybody. The Grady team will be at 7 Elm Place in Hanson from 11 to 1. That is brand new construction, $875.
3-bedroom colonial.
Yeah, Tracy has been on the show with me. She'll be back in a couple weeks, and she loves talking about this property. She loves them. A lot of great activity over there as well.
He does really great detail, yeah.
Sue Bollinger has a listing, 30 Grant Street in West Bridgewater. She'll be there tomorrow from 1:30 to 3.
And that's adorable. I did a video on that recently, so you can go into my Instagram to see it. Yep, so that's really
that
cute
just
house.
had a price adjustment to $585.
Nice.
Sam Horton will be at 32 Great Cedar, Unit 32 in Hanson tomorrow from 10 to 12. That is a condo on the market for $459.9. And he will also be at 145 Pleasant Street in Attleboro tomorrow from 1:30 to 3. That is a multifamily on the market for $749.
Wow. Yeah, everybody's busy.
Weekend.
Yeah, looks like a lot of things coming on the market. So, yeah. And you know what I love? It's an array of different things. You have condos, multis, new construction, older homes, renovated, flips
everything.
And stuff
We
like
got
that.
it all.
We got it all.
We got it.
You got it, yeah. So, and if you need you're an evaluation done on your home, or if you need, some assistance in working with a buyer's agent, of course, you can contact us here at the office. We have myself, obviously, I am still in the field and working, but we have many agents that I team up with too. Over the years, I've teamed up with many of them, or you can reach out to them directly too. But you can find us on our website, bostonconnect.com, and just scroll down a little bit and say meet the team, and you'll see all of our agents, and maybe go through some of the profiles and see who rings, sort of resonates with you.
Yeah.
You can also call me directly, 781-294-4848. That's my cell phone number. You can reach out to me directly, or the office, 781-826-8000. Please listen to our past shows. You can find that on Talk Real Estate Roundtable on any of your podcast apps. And that's all I got for today.
That's all we got. I'll be back next Saturday with Kristen Howlett, full-time real estate agent here at Boston Connect Real Estate.
Awesome. Have a great week, everybody.
Bye.
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this beauty wood, a neighborly day for a beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I have always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood.